either of you get a chance to just peek in on previous shows, aspects of aging? Did either of you get an opportunity?
I saw a little of the one. I think it was the last episode. I I think Kenneth, your background or like there's some sounds on your background. Uh, yeah, I saw. I watched part of the last episode. I believe the one where one of the people is uh, talking about their device of assisting people in the bathroom. Um,
Yes, Vince.
yes, that's right. Yeah, so part of that
Sure.
one.
And he was visiting someone else for an extended holiday, and he didn't have it right there with him. But it had been a year and a half since he came on my very first show when I said, I know what I want to do. A bunch of people who have also grappled with something that is in any way age related, which of course is just continued life. I'm going to say, but there is a point where I think now that just came into my category, the category that I saw when I was with people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and hundreds. I saw the people that were wanted the best for them in the life that they had, and to see what they could do about maybe some restrictions that hadn't been a part of their life in the past. And so those people were closer to my age. I was in my 50s then. So people in their 40s on up into their 70s, including friends and spouses that were also all the way up into hundreds. And I thought, okay, now I understand, because my world had been teaching 9-year-olds, raising babies into grade school. But my neighbor said, you know, I've seen you with our other neighbors, and you would be really good at caregiving. My answer 10 years ago, or my response was, oh, you mean working in that nursing home down the road? No, that's not what I mean. I didn't recognize family members as caregivers, although they give care too at a in a building where the primary focus is to give independence and safety and interaction and um, assist with those sundry things that are just too difficult anymore. They are also caregivers, but my world just opened, and you are part of that world that I wish I'd known for a while, but I get to know you today. Jill, I'm so happy to say hello to you and have you on the screen. Carol, oh my goodness, I've been looking at your tiny picture for so long, and here you are. As far as I'm concerned, we're by the time I'm into these discussions, these interactions, I feel like I've been across the table from you. So it's just a thrill. Alipio, he's just kind of used to me. He knows that I jabber, and I'm going to stop that right now because there's something called tech left. And I want to make sure that the two gentlemen on my screen, on my left and right, hi guys, have their opportunity. So have you rehearsed this, or did you think, let's just come on today and see what happens? Because that's kind of my attitude when I come into these things. I'm like, let's see what happens. It is amazing when a group gets together, how they find commonalities. And even like Alipio did, he reached out to a gentleman named Jem and said, I understand what's going on there. I've actually dealt with that. And I suggest, what an uplift for a person, California, to Ireland, somewhere in the UK. I think Jim's in Ireland. And I got to just sit there and go, look at him go. Look at him go. So, Kenneth and Veryl, thank you so much for being adventuresome and coming onto this live show.
Thank you
And
for
Michael
having
says
me.
hi.
I, yeah. Kenneth, I think there's a problem. I don't know if you can hear. When you unmute, there's a kind of a electronic sound which happens. I can't hear you
Here we
yet.
go.
I'm hearing a weird echo.
He's going to go ahead and mute for a moment. So,
Uh,
and see if he can resolve that. And maybe you can help him with that. And I don't know, maybe Scott's going to put something into the comments if he has an idea. And I know Carol has dealt with this and resolved it, maybe.
I disconnected my earphones and then I logged out and logged back in. I didn't want this to continue throughout the. So yeah, mine is off. So I'm just using my computer audio.
Wow. Well, Kenneth, this is not new for you to deal with. Something that needs to be fixed. So I'm going to rely on him. Gary, hello. We've got Michael and Gary already saying hello. And I'm just going to tell you right now, every week somebody sends a direct message and goes, "Oh, I was listening. I just didn't comment, or I couldn't, or I had to do something else at the moment." So um I am just so grateful. Gary says, "Thanks for adjusting the sound." And Michael is glad to be here. He told me before the show that he was planning on jumping in. So, Viral, you are completely muted and off screen at this moment. I'm going to switch gears. Carol, you are unmuted and your sound is working fine. Why am I so excited to be screen to screen with you? You must have done something.
Well, I'm the author of the book Hope for the Alzheimer's Journey. And it is the HOPE is an acronym for H is help. So caregivers need to reach out for help, professional help, family and friends. The O stands for organization. You have to be organized to be a caregiver. You have to organize all their paperwork. You have to organize medications. You have to organize doctor visits. Organization is really key. And then the P stands for preparation. This book was really written for Alzheimer's caregivers, but it applies pretty much across the board. But in Alzheimer's, you know that the person is going to continually decline. So you really have to prepare in advance for that decline. You can't wait till all of a sudden mom needs to go to assisted living or mom needs to go to a nursing home to try to figure out where they're going to go. You have to be prepared in advance, but also being prepared, just taking them to the doctor. Like I had an appointment up at the University of Pennsylvania, which is about 35 miles from here. And it's like I went through and it's like, okay, mom's in a walker. This is her first appointments. I had a bunch of actual the real films from different scans and stuff. And I'm like, how am I going to manage this? The parking lot is sort of across the street. And I said, hey, we're going to use their valet parking. But it's that upfront planning, before we even got there, I knew exactly how we were going to do it. I knew it would take a little longer because you're going to have to wait for the valet. But, so the P is for preparation, not only for preparing for the change in need. And this applies for any situation. So you could have someone who's not declining, but going to get better. They were in the hospital, had a surgery or something, and now, then they're going to go to a nursing home and they're going to eventually get better. So you can sort of think about, well, how are the needs going to change? Eventually they will probably get back to themselves, but how are those needs going to change? And then the E in HOPE is for education. You have to be on events like this, to find out what's going on, what can help you. Are there tools and resources out there that can help. Join a support group. So that's me. I was a caregiver for my mother for over 11 years with my brother. I was a remote, we were remote caregivers initially when she lived at home by herself in Cleveland. And we moved her assisted living in Cleveland. And then we moved her to Delaware to be closer to me to be in memory care. So that's my story. And that's, I think, why I'm here today.
Yay for education, information. I change. If I don't know what I'm doing, oh my goodness, my hands go limp. My brain that would function in other situations, I think I'm rational, I'm fairly intelligent. Why can I not handle what seems like a simple situation? Why can I not fix it? And maybe what I need to do is stop trying to fix the surface thing and understand, the underlying or the long term, etc. When you say H for help in your book, do you give direction? Help sounds like what a caregiver is saying in their mind. Somebody help me, or I need help. I don't even know what kind of help. Do you give some direction in that book?
Well, I call it this. You have to develop your circle of support. Your inner family, you sort of work together, but then you bring in, other people. Even to the point where if your loved one is wandering, the neighborhood grocer down at the corner may be sort of like a backup. If you see my mom coming down this way, give me a call. So they may be part of your circle of support, but you also have to make sure you're getting the right medical care. That's part of your circle of support. You may have to get professional caregivers because you may not have enough people with us, we had her sisters, we had neighbors, you have to expand that as you need it to make sure you have the help. And you may have to pay for professional caregiving because, the statistics are really bad on caregivers if they don't have the help that they need. So yeah, it's look, and it's, I even talk about in the book where you might have, especially with Alzheimer's, you may have some people who don't believe mom has Alzheimer's, or don't believe it's that bad, or so they don't really want to help because they don't want to really face up to it. So there's ways you can do to sort of bring the family together to sort of figure out how they can help, and they still may not help. So you just keep them informed, and then you just sort of move forward. But that's your circle of support, and sometimes you have to expand it as they decline. So you always have to look at what am I doing, what am I going to have to do in the future, and who can fill those gaps.
People are going to find and laugh and talk about the ally that they never expected. They thought that person's so young, they don't want to be bothered with aging things, and come to find out their heart is open to that for many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find, like you said, the corner store grocer. They're going to find a neighbor that they think, I would be embarrassed to have that neighbor who's seems so involved and not interested, to know that there's scary times that they have been found in places, and then come to find out they're like, oh, my uncle, my mother-in-law, and one of my, and you find you have allies. But boy, you really have to steel yourself. You have to say, I am now an advocate, not, this isn't about keeping up appearances. This is about people, human needs. And if I fell and hit my head and I'm wandering off past the park that's across the street and down the path, and I'm not making all that much sense, someone is going to be the Good Samaritan and go, hey, let's find somebody. And, do you like ice cream? let's wander back into town, kind of a thing. I'm grateful that there are people who reach out and who understand or say, hey, uh, I don't need to get hero status. I I just care about people. And what a boon that is for a person who cares about someone who's got aging challenges.
Mm.
Um, Viral, can I switch over to you right now?
Yes, just checking you can hear me properly.
Yes, I
Uh,
can. Did you want to be the first of both you and Kenneth to just talk about tech left?
uh, Kenneth, you can go ahead if your audio is working.
You may want to log out and log back in.
Okay, I guess I'll go first, but
Sure.
yeah, I wanted to give Kenneth the opportunity to go first because essentially I joined him later. Uh, so so he started off. Well, we were working in the same area and we became acquaintances, and then he used to be working in long-term care facilities, and he identified
Yeah.
there's so many gaps and problems in such situations that can be solved with technology. Um, but Kenneth, are you back? Uh,
Yeah, I'm here. I think you
okay,
can hear me now, right?
I'll let you start first and give a background.
Okay. So actually, what we're doing with Tech Labs is like we are trying to use technology to help seniors to live longer in their own homes and also be able to be part of the communities that they have lived all their life with. So the problem that we encountered or the problem that we saw was that when there is a kind of disconnect between families and their aging loved ones, maybe because of um, location where they live. Maybe the family might be living outside the state or outside the province, maybe because of work and other personal activities. So they tend to want to take the aging loved one to a kind of retirement facility, just because they feel like they will have companion and they will have people around them. So and they end up spending more money to live in facilities than what they would have spent if they are living in their own homes. So we
Mm.
actually want to use technology and help those seniors to be in their own homes and also be able to give the families or anyone within the care circle informations around their daily living. And those informations can include the trend on what they do daily in terms of their independence levels and also informations around their health and sleep and health and particularly around depression, and then in terms of
Mm.
their sleep, something around their sleep score and bedtime, awakening time, whether they have like a well organized routine or whether they are falling out of routine as expected by the families. So actually another area we are looking at solving is around assessment of care needs. So different regions use different tools right now, and we're in St. John's, Newfoundland, and Interact tool is what is used to assess seniors to determine whether they can still be in their own homes or whether they need to move into a long-term care facility. And right now, what health authorities do is that they send social workers to go into the homes of these seniors or maybe call them over the phone to discuss with them and carry out those assessments. So our platform, our software will also help automate those assessments and enable health authorities to carry out those assessments without actually needing to visit or get in contact with the seniors. So that's like basically the brief of what Tech Left is doing.
Did I understand correctly that tech left would give accurate information everything from independence to trends that could even indicate a depression, that would be information that would help a social worker to do their job?
Yeah, so we are using clinical grade sensors and then some other sensors that are not like health related sensors to actually take data around home space usage, and then the clinical ones take information that are more health related, and then we use those informations to actually um, give informations through our dashboard, and that information depends on the audience that is actually utilizing that information. So the families can also use it, and then in terms of the insights, so the families can use the insights, and also health practitioners can also use the insights. But the assessment is mostly trying to help reduce the time that it takes to carry out assessments of seniors right now, which is done manually, and then the support worker or the social worker will need to visit the senior to carry it out. But then our platform will enable them to actually do it automatically and remotely.
Michael says integrating tech and engineering to support seniors' healthy living sounds so cool and innovative. Um, and Gary is having to bow out. A client called. Go take care of your client, Gary. All these people that pop in either on screen or into the chat, they are they are there used to be a show on TV, and you would see a person with sticks on basically a table, and at the top, I don't know, maybe a little rubber tip on the stick, and they would put plates on the top, and they would move the stick so that the plates would begin spinning like a basketball player would spin a ball on their finger. And the way of describing that is you've got a lot of plates spinning. And but that person would have to go back and forth. They were usually wearing, like a tuxedo or maybe a magician's kind of an outfit. And they're keeping those all twirling, and they're keeping them up in the air. And I say that because when the plates begin to fall, they crash to the ground, they shatter, they hit each other. Show is over. I can drop plates. I used to be a waitress. I can drop plates. But it is amazing to keep all those plates spinning. Health workers, social workers, caring loved ones, um, a person who's trying to understand what it is that you want delivered by as far as food or something, they have so many plates they're keeping spinning with other people. And to stop and totally focus on you as a person when they are with you in person is so much better than having to go through. You said that it would shorten the time to get an accurate assessment. What's needed here? What is the problem? How often is this really happening? And what solutions have helped those problems? And AI can just get that all together. It's like, this has helped in those situations. We can apply this. Now I can work with this person as a person instead of just gathering data and trying to figure out whether the data is skewed because this person is not remembering, doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't want to say, I wander the house at night. I'm confused at night. They don't want to talk about it because now it's daytime and maybe it'll go away. And we've already heard from Carol that decline is going to happen if you have a disease, a condition, an injury. There's a lot of different ways that decline can continue if it's not addressed. So the two of you met each other. Kenneth was working in long-term care facilities and saw this this could happen better. This could happen faster, more accurately, and you applied your knowledge. What were you doing before you even came over to the States?
Okay. When I was in Nigeria, mostly,
Yeah.
there is this national service that is done in Nigeria after tertiary education. So when I was doing my national service, I was deployed to work with the Ministry of Transport and Petroleum in Akwa Ibom State in Nigeria. So I work mostly with the Ministry of Petroleum, and then my academic background was mechanical engineering. So I found interest in oil and gas. So I decided to also further my education in oil and gas. So I looked up schools that offered oil and gas engineering, and I saw Memorial, I saw University of Alberta. Then I applied to Memorial, and they gave me the admission. So that's how I came to do oil and gas engineering in St. John's, Newfoundland.
What
Then
about oh,
after school, I started trying to get into the engineering practice, but then COVID was also at its peak then, and engineering is mostly on the field job, so the jobs was actually going down, and then I started looking into technology, and there is this ecosystem here, Genesis Center. So I started going to Genesis. I met a founder of an aquaculture company, and I started volunteering with the company actually to train myself in software development. So that's when I met Viral in the same ecosystem, and Viral was working with a robotic company there. But yeah, while in school, while in Memorial, I was working in long-term care, in home care too. So I worked with seniors that live in their own home, and I work with seniors that live in facility. So I could actually see or compare the situation of both seniors, and some of the seniors that moved into long-term care facilities were not because they are not able to live independently on their own. It's maybe because they don't have any loved one within the same St. John's to actually be with them. So they feel like they will get companion in the long-term care facilities, and they move to the facility. And they don't actually want to be in the facilities all the time because they miss the community that they are coming from. So we are trying to now use our solution to help um, give the families that be rest assured, in short, just to let them know that their loved one is still doing well, living in their own home. So all those data that our technology is giving them, we give them the confidence that their loved one is actually doing well in their own home.
Vera, what would you like to add to all that I mean, you and Kenneth have talked to each other, you've been in the same room and everything. Um, Knowing that people come to Aging Better Network and watch, like you did, watch a little bit of each of these, what would you want? Someone's coming there because they're just like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what it is that I need. What should I be thinking about? What everyone says, what's out there? Can you bring it in so that it's right here? I don't know. I'm giving you this really weird, vague question. What would you like to say?
Um, yeah, no, I think I totally understand what you mean because of the context. But yeah, so I think what we are trying to focus on is mostly preventing preemptive moves to long-term care facilities when people are perfectly fine at home, apart from their loved ones or people who are responsible or are trying to make sure that the person is functioning well. We want to make sure that they can increase their longevity in the place they want to age rather than be forced into situations which they have less control over. Um, yeah, and that's basically by providing the stakeholders, the people they who feel they're responsible for the senior, adequate information that they feel is good enough that, oh, I know my parents are moving around in their house, eating food in the kitchen, going to the washroom the right amount of, or not like, not at all, or not too many times, but yeah, or they're not just lying in their room all day. So I know that they're having a good life and they'll be fine in their own, and I can check in when I'm feeling insecure or when I'm feeling concerned. Um,
Right.
that's our main goal, and then also the usage of their house, like we know that the person is using the kitchen, or if they're not, we can try and explore why they're not using the kitchen. It may not necessarily be that they're not able to use the kitchen, it's just that they don't like certain layout of the kitchen, or if they had like a certain equipment which would make them use the kitchen easier. So it can identify, uh, try and help. We want to try and help identify utility better. Yeah, so essentially, our platform is for the our platform is not just for um, like the people around the senior. We're also trying to incorporate the platform such that the senior themselves have usage of it. Because, for instance,
Very good.
we are looking at, for instance, like it was snowing a couple weekends ago, and the senior maybe like, oh, I should get someone to uh, shovel my lawn for me so I can get out of the house. And
Right.
the platform, we're trying to adapt it so that the senior has some ability to um, use the platform as well. So it's not, so they don't feel like it's just a monitoring device and it's for everyone but themselves.
That answers a big question. It's like, do I want to be spied on? I don't know what they're thinking. To be able to interact and just go, hey, I dropped a spoon down in the garbage disposal. And so I feel like I shouldn't use the sink until, so I've been getting food delivered. That's why I'm not using the kitchen, to be able to just put something in and go, "Oh my goodness, we can fix that. Don't worry about that. You're not going to ruin, this. We'll, resolve that, whatever. The floor is sticky and my sure would love to be able to go out and get my mail, but I just don't feel like I should be on the steps right now with the ice. And it's like, boom, I'm living at a different level. I didn't even think, oh my goodness, a neighbor said that they're spreading, they can put some salt out and take care of that for you. How wonderful to go, I'm still independent and I'm controlling and I'm able to problem solve too. But there could be that day with that slight change where it's like, you were doing something that you don't usually do. And it's like, no, I don't remember doing that. And it's like, now we have something new going on. And now I'm really grateful. Just it sounds like it would increase communication. It would increase sharing vital information. Would you two gentlemen let us know how we can get a hold of you, how we can learn more about Tech Left, and what you have developed with your engineering background, I think of both of you as unlikely allies. What a surprise to meet each of you and go, but aren't you about Ministry of Petroleum in Nigeria? Well, yes, but I have applied my mind and heart elsewhere. Well, weren't you just, doing things with Genesis? You're kind of a university person. You wouldn't be interested in what's going on in my family. Oh, I'm not only interested, I've actually developed something that is helpful. And it's like, I'm so glad I met both of you. I'm grateful truly that I've met both of you, but also for someone else who's going, well, I don't know about that. They know that both of you are caring people who understand the need to get data quickly and get toward resolving it so people can get back to their regular living. How should people get a hold of you?
So maybe by my email would be the easiest way to get hold of us, but also to see more information about what we do. Our website is also techleft.com, but I can drop my email in the chat.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And then
Yeah.
my husband, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener, can make sure that that comes onto the screen. I'm thinking about both Alipio and Jill, and you've both been listening. I know what Alipio was thinking about sharing. Do you, Alipio, do you need to leave early before the end of the hour? We've got about 25 minutes left.
No.
You're okay. And Jill, your screen has gone dark a few times. Have you had to work with someone?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You're still good too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had to sneeze and I figured I wouldn't do that on camera.
Well, if my screen goes dark, it's probably, I've got the dog and cat 2 doors away. So it isn't that. But I mean, the cat was just right here today going, you've only been on screen for an hour and I'm done with you being on screen. So I'm like, well, I think you need to go visit elsewhere. Hey, Jill, can I have you just, aren't we kind of close by each other? I mean, if I'm remembering the wrong person, I'm thinking that you and I are going to try to converge at a spot where we can actually not have to mute ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell us about Jill and what you're all about in your endeavors.
Oh, thanks. Senior care is so important. I've been involved in healthcare as a participant for all my life. My mom had type 1 diabetes. 60 years ago, they didn't know anything about it. And so we were in the hospitals all the time. So I was very comfortable in the healthcare setting. And then I was excuse me, I was a pastor for 17 years. And in that work as a pastor, part of what I would do is I would be there if somebody was in the hospital. I'd go and I'd visit and I'd stay with them and I'd be with the family. If somebody had passed, if somebody was aging and just the family was struggling with that. Fast forward to 2016, I needed to step away from full-time ministry, and I called up a friend of mine and I said, hey, are you ever looking for caregivers? And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. She actually cussed and it was really funny. She's like, oh, sorry, Pastor Jill. And so that's how I got started in senior care world, is as a vocation was I started out as a caregiver in a memory care facility, and I promoted to a med tech. I managed a small assisted living facility for a while. All along, part of my journey has been recognizing that this is such an incredibly important work that's being done. People's lives are literally in our hands. Their well-beings, their care. whether they're having a good day or a bad day, their nutrition, their medical needs, their emotional needs. Anybody involved in senior care literally holds these things in their hands. And yet, what I'm finding, and especially now in the last couple of years, is that caregivers, I'm not talking private caregivers per se, and please understand this is a sweeping generalization of an observation. Not everybody falls into this category, but a lot of places what I'm seeing is that caregivers and care staff are coming in and they're more focused on their own needs than they are on the needs of their residents. And yet executive directors are afraid to say anything. They're afraid to hold them to a higher standard of care because they're afraid then that that caregiver or that staff member is going to quit. And so there's this constant operation of fear, and yet the best care is not being given. And the other problem that I'm seeing for executive directors and senior leaders, most of them started out as caregivers. That's kind of the trajectory. You start out as a caregiver, and if you're good, then you get promoted to a med tech. And if you're good at that, then you get promoted to activities or marketing or, some other thing. And then eventually it's like, oh, you know what? You keep being really good. We're going to make you an executive director. But there's a gap in leadership training. And there's this expectation by facility owners and operators that an executive director is going to be great at caring for a team because they were so great at caring for people. Well, that's not reality. It's a totally different skill set. And so, again, there's this gap. There's frustration. It leads to burnout. When you have people who don't know how to manage well, then you do have that high turnover. And when you have high turnover, then, that falls on the executive director. I remember when I was managing a facility, if a caregiver called out, if a med tech called out, I was the one who had to fill that spot. And that leads to burnout because when am I doing my executive director work? After hours. When I get home, I'm sitting, with my computer. Maybe my kids are in bed, so I'm going to stay up till midnight trying to catch up on emails and the reports and the operations and all the other things that I'm responsible for as the executive director. So it's led me to this point where I am working with executive directors to overcome that fear, to not be stunted by that fear, but to build their dream team without starting from scratch, and then going into being this thriving team, this thriving facility, so that at the end of the day, the executive director is like, wow, I have a committed team that's providing stellar service, and I have reduced turnover and minimal call outs, and my operation costs are going down. People are happier. We're working together as a team instead of, oh, there's the marketing silo, there's the housekeeping silo, there's the dining silo, there's the care staff silo. We're all working together for one common good, and that is in the best interest of the residents. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Without starting from scratch. So you've developed, because you've lived it, you've developed a course, coaching. How do you deliver this thing that people can apply actually to businesses everywhere? We've all come up to the counter with our question or our purchases, and the person on the other side is putting in their hours and would rather continue. That's just typical. And it's heartbreaking to me when I see that kind of roll of the eyes and whatever in a situation where another human being is either being enhanced or disregarded.
Yeah.
Because this person's just like, where's my break time? Where's my paycheck? Where's my weekend? That I'm just,
Yeah.
And it can be in the same place with the same people, with the same expectations. You have the person who's overjoyed and pouring themselves out. And you can have the person who is, and I see that Kenneth had to take off just as he had said. And you see the person who's just like, whatever, and it's wrong. So how do you deliver this? Is it coaching? Is it a course?
It's a combination. For sure, there's coaching involved. I hang out with the management team and I coach them on how to bring out the best and how to activate their staff. When I was pastoring, all of my staff were volunteers. I didn't get to motivate them with a paycheck. I didn't get to tell them, oh, you better show up to this obligation because what? Because nothing. Like I had nothing to. And so I learned how to connect their heart, their passion, their personality, their purpose with the work that we were doing, which got them excited and motivated to come and be a part. The same principles apply across industries, of course, but the same principles apply here. So it's teaching that to managers, coaching them through situations. And then I do have 3 different workshops that I present. One is called Cracking the Communication Code, because communication is foundational. It doesn't matter how much we trust each other. It doesn't matter how well we like each other. If we're not communicating correctly, then it's all kind of, we waste a lot of time. So Cracking the Communication Code. The next one is called Building the Dream Team. And it's based on Patrick Lencioni's book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And so it's putting those things in place: the trust, the accountability, the commitment, and conflict. And then the last one is a workshop just on conflict management. I have leadership development that I do, again, through coaching and through attending, kind of teaching at those manager meetings to both the executive director and to the managers there. Because at the end of the day, it isn't all on the executive director. The executive director is directing, and the managers are the ones who should be touching the staff and touching the lives of the people that they're managing in order to activate them to bring out their best.
That's the boss everyone wants to work for. So, executive directors, do not take your amazing med tech and squish them through a sieve without leadership equipment. Go to Jill. How do they go to Jill?
Anybody can find me on LinkedIn. I hang out there. I'm easy to find there, but also my website, which is linkconsulting.info. That is the best way you can learn a little bit more about what I'm doing. And then there's buttons on how you can schedule a discovery call, which is that's the first step. It's pretty easy to work with me. Book a discovery call. Let's talk about what's going on, what's going right, what's going wrong, what's the dream. And then we work together through the coaching and the workshops.
If you get a chance, go ahead and put it into the chat, and that can come on screen. Hi, Steve Berger. We've missed each other a few weeks. Busy that you are. And I'm so grateful that you came in, that you're enjoying this. Alipio, your head has been agreeing. Just I see your head going up and down. It just makes me smile. So Alipio, I want to make sure that you also, I think you just sent me a direct message and said, hey, I've been looking in on something. I love that you call yourself a citizen scientist. Yep. Lipio, jump in with what you have continued with, and you can talk about what you've been doing. It is your turn.
Thank you. First of all, to Jill, it's glad to hear of that work that you're doing. My background, just for the rest of you who probably aren't aware of me, is 29 years in the computer industry. I've worked with large corporate IT as a software designer, and then I became a software engineer. I worked with Microsoft. and actually had a project written up by Microsoft as a case study in innovation. And then I also spent 10 years in coaching and training. So I have that combined background. And then recently, for the last 4 years, I've been doing medical research in conjunction with the School of Medicine with the University of Southern California. And with an assistant clinical professor, I developed a fasting fitness protocol, and I completely reversed my type 2 diabetes, cured my gout, cleared out my high cholesterol, and eliminated my hypertension, and became medication free in 5 months. So I've continued. I was doing some coaching, but I pretty much have ended that to put all my efforts full time into research. And my gift is I can take the results from clinical research and break it down to protocols that an everyday person can do.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm here today is because of exciting discoveries recently in the area of exercise. Specifically, there was a study that came out, 61 people, men, average age in the 50-year-old range, and through a 2-year exercise protocol, they improved their hearts up to having a 50-year-old heart be the same as a 30-year-old heart, just with exercise. So specifically, I took the results of that research and other research. I developed a specific method that in which I could take someone and I can help them choose what type of exercise fits them and their schedule. I gave them a cheap way to evaluate their progress. And again, the whole emphasis now in the medical industry is focusing on health span, not lifespan. And for those of you who are not aware of what health span means, it's meaning that you want to maintain your youthful functionality up until pretty much near the point of death. In other words, as one doctor pithily put it, you would rather be the oldest person in the gym than the youngest person in the nursing home. So essentially, I've been working in ways to develop protocols that allow people, no matter their age, no matter their income level, to basically take their health destiny in their own hands. Because one of the things that I've been evaluating is how the health industry changed in the last 20 years, where instead of being primarily motivated in getting people healthy, now it's about number crunching and greatest return on investment. So essentially, in that light, each person needs to take better control of their health destiny. So I've been focused on giving them the tools and the knowledge so they can do that. So that pretty much sums this up. So the primary message is that there's research now that really are giving the actual levers to manipulate the rejuvenation and repair mechanisms of the body that can extend your longevity and maintain your full functionality up until close to the point of death. And that's what we really all want, right? Is basically to be able to lift a grandkid up above our head,
Yes.
to not rely on someone to carry out the trash, but to maintain our independence and our happiness. So that's it. Any questions?
Wow. It just, you've lived it. You've had an active life. You've had health barriers. You have used all that you are and all that you were motivated, all the motivation to find what can go right. What have I got that's not broke? How can I activate this? You've reversed, you've taken care of. Doctors are like going, good. I'd rather see you once a year than, twice, 3 times a month, and try to, encourage you to do what you've provided. You said cheap, and you said that fits them. And you also said ROI, return on investment. So those are sparking some neurons in some people right now. And it doesn't hurt that you said men and that you are a man. because that is another barrier to get over. That my situation, hold the cards close to the chest. I it's going to look weak if I ask for help. Instead, it is a guy managing his own situation to another person who says, yeah, I want to stay in charge. I want to be able to bend over and pick that up and continue what we're doing, instead of going, it's a little too tough. It's like, and there's something you can do about it. Carol, you talked about preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Even after you recognize that there is a problem, you are preparing, you're facing the truth that this could become more difficult in some way. And so you're preparing for that difficulty and not saying, I just don't want to think about it. It's not pleasant. Um, I love all those things that you are all doing. Alipio, how do you want people to get a hold of you so that they can get both hands back on the helm of living into their longevity in a way that you always wish you could split yourself and go, oh, I should have taken that path. I wish I could have taken both paths, see how this one works out, that one. And you're like, you're going to take a path, and here is just plain old facts, what you can do about it. You're going to take a path in your life. So this is a better equipment to take with you on that path. How do people get a hold of you, Alipio?
They can find all my contact information on LinkedIn. As I said, I'm primarily doing full-time research right now and working on a book. And I'm just following the advice that a CEO of a major mRNA therapy company told me. He said, we don't need another doctor spouting another clinical research that most people outside the academic community can't relate to. We need someone like you that can tell your story in a way that people can relate to. So essentially, as you all are probably really well aware of that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in that he used a very storyteller approach to giving financial advice. So I'm going to be probably using the same narrative in a way that people can relate to.
Good.
So primarily, because I do have background in the entertainment industry, I spent 2.5 years at Paramount Pictures. So I'm going to be utilizing the hero's journey motif and talking about specifically how I completed, and Jill will understand the enormity of this. As you can tell, I'm a type A personality. So as my final, Viral could probably relate to this. For my Big Boss challenge, when I reversed my type 2 diabetes, I completed a 40-day water and walking only fast.
Mm-hmm.
So because
That's how you celebrated becoming free of type 2 diabetes? Is that what you mean? No.
Because to me, that's how I motivated to do that final hurdle to reverse type 2 diabetes is I gave myself a Mount Everest-like challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe, you're going to laugh about this, but I'm a recovering Catholic. So I just said, hey, if a 40-day water and walking fast was good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. And I did it. So I could talk to religious-oriented people. I could talk to scientifically oriented people. And because of my teaching, coaching, training background, I know how to speak it in a way that says, okay, here are the tools that fit you. And how, again, which Jill understands this, one thing I always focus on accomplishments and experience is if you're going to lead, you have to have credibility. If you don't have credibility, I don't care what type of communication style you have. You're immediately, people don't listen to you. And the best way to do that is accomplishments. That's the reason, even though I'm not a doctor, even though I don't have a shred of medical education, doctors give me credibility because of what I accomplish. And more importantly, I'm able to communicate utilizing their terminology. So, as we all know, when you talk to someone in your own field, you know within 5 minutes if they're real or not, right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing with when you're dealing with doctors and you're a non-doctor. So they would ask me, "Well, how do you know this?" And I said, "Okay, this is how I did it. This is the mechanism. This is the objective results, and this is how I evaluate." And they go, "Okay, you know your shit. I'll listen to you."
Mhm.
So if you are in a leadership position, understand the most important thing you need to accomplish. First thing, establish credibility and trust. Everything flows from that. So sorry I intruded into your space, Jill, but I thought I needed to say that.
Oh.
Okay, I'll shut up now. Sorry, that was a long, long roundabout
No,
answer.
I'm the one that needs tape over my mouth. Carol, tell us about your book again, and how you would want someone to get a hold of you.
Okay, they posted it. The book is Hope for the Alzheimer's Journey. It includes emails between my brothers and I as we were going through this. It's really a caregiver guide, and it introduces what I call the caregiving principle. And the principle basically says the needs of the loved one, and they were talking about the needs minus the needs that they can provide for themselves. The difference is what the caregiver basically has to provide. So it gives you a lot of good, the caregiving principle helps you to really understand your loved one, the way I define the needs. And all of this is available on Carol B as in boy, Amos.com. And I also have some good organization spreadsheets on there on my website as well. So that's me.
LinkedIn likes it when I put in Carol B and the period before Amos. So if
Oh,
anyone's having trouble finding you, for some reason that
okay.
code works for me.
Okay.
Lipio, you said that someone said rather be the oldest working out at the gym than the youngest needing to have everyone do for me what I used to do independently. Jill, you said that there was someone. Oh, Jill's gone. That's right. She said there was someone. I have to go back and listen to that. There was someone that influenced part of her workshops on making sure that you don't just keep pushing that bright, capable person into a position of now make everyone else do this without training them.
Mhm.
I'm sure there are so many different metaphors for you're amazing at this, and now you have to do it from this other standpoint. And it's like, I don't know how to reach. I've not had that uh, training, and establishing credibility. I'm so glad, Carol, that you have emails between you and your brothers in there so that someone can go, oh my goodness, yes, Carol gets me. Viral, thank you for staying on extra long. And thank you so much for working together with Kenneth to develop Tech Left, and that you were also working on how the person themselves that is being their situation is being quantified
Mhm.
for the good. Because if you recognize, I have a problem, what can I do for this problem? I'm having trouble breathing. I'm not right now, but I'm having trouble breathing. What can I get? You've rushed into a pharmacy, you've called your sister. I'm having trouble breathing. What should I be doing for this? You want an answer, and you want to enact something. You want to be given something that you can do. um, this is if you can quantify what's going on, what isn't giving you your better life, or the life that you had a few months ago, if that can just be placed for you by AI, who isn't going to have a bad attitude that day, who isn't going to ignore some things because it seems too trivial. I don't think that that's important. But if it can be done by artificial intelligence, if it can be monitored so specifically that it's like, there's the pattern, that's the situation, that has come up in other AI generated data. And this seems to be the better course for continued health and continued making your own choices. I get to make my own choices every day. Why would why would I not want to do that? And not, this is a toughie. I could make choices that are unhealthy for me. But when my ill health is messing with my relationships, with my purpose, with my neighbors who are worrying about me, then, hey, let's try analyzing that and getting to the root of it, and having you go, it was that easy. Oh my goodness. I thought it was going to be a big deal. I was scared. And it turns out, oh, it's this little piece of information right here. So before I'm the only one left on the screen, I'll just say, Carol, Viral, and everyone else, including Steve and Michael and Gary, who came on in the chat column, everyone who's been watching and didn't have an opportunity to come into the chat column, and especially everyone who's going to come to Aging Better Network with their head in their hands, or with their, I want to learn more about this because I've been preparing for the rest of my life, all of my life. Why am I going to quit now just because I'm turning 64? Why would I quit becoming informed and finding better ways and developing, as Jill said, developing your group? Nope, that was Carol. Developing your circle of people that are going to be your help, that they're going to be your champion or your sounding board, or the person who's going to go, hey, let's go do something together and turn this negative into something that we can both deal with a little bit better, whatever it is. I'm just thankful and grateful to all of you. And I have just talked us way past the hour. Oh, I'm terrible. They need a new person to be in charge of these shows. Oh, bye, Carol. Bye, Beryl.
Thank you so much.